Yeah, little Jacob here. And tonight I figure I'd quick do a Game 5 preview against the Golden Knights. And again, this very easily could be the last game of the season. And it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, it well, you saw my video last night. You pretty much know how frustrated I was after that one. Yikes. But it's just after a while it just gets so infuriating. It's hard to explain, but it's just so infuriating when year in, year out, game in, game out, you watch the teams that you love either A, get shafted, or B, shaft themselves. And I am young/old enough to have seen, well, both ends of the spectrum. And being a Minnesota sports fan, let's just say it happens more than I would like to admit. But anyway, all that aside and all that, I'm still pretty proud of this squad overall. I mean, this team going into this year, I honestly had no idea what to expect because the way the last year ended and, the whole COVID thing and being shut out by, Vancouver after a dominating Game 1 performance in the bubble last year, only to then get swept 3 straight. Well, boy, how ironic. But anyway, it's just interesting to see how this team changes constantly year in and year out. But again, overall, the way this team looked this year, I am very proud of the progress. Kirill looks like a stud. Talbot has been doing his thing. Kapanen looks like Kakkonen, I should say, not... yeah. Kakkonen looks like a solid goaltender for the next who knows how long. I mean, we have some good depth in our squad. Foligno, Eck, and Greenway. It'll be interesting to see how many of those three will return for us next season because, yeah. Dumba, that's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with him going into next year. Because, again, he's one of the few players. I've been hearing rumors about him being expendable to Seattle. But, again, the whole thing with Alex Tuch being the wild killer, and that's a whole different can of worms there that... yeah. But anyway, kind of going back to this game now. Yeah, honestly, I'm kind of just at a loss for words, really. It's deflating to see this happen year in and year out, game in and game out, season in and season out. But like I said before, this team has a future. This team has key components that can blossom and bloom into a potential Stanley Cup team. And Evason and Guerin are the guys moving forward I could see really sort of kind of get this mess of a situation back. Because of the last, the last coaching and general managing regime, let's just say there is some questionable decision making, a la the Alex Tuch versus Matt Dumba debate. But anyway, yeah, don't want to relive past experiences, but I mean, there's no guarantee that Alex Tuch would have even done anything for the Wild at this point, but who knows? I'm not going to say one thing either way, but let's just say Dumba has been probably, in my opinion, one of the more frustrating players for the Wild between like him, Suter, and Parise, just because it's when they're on, they're amazing, but the problem is, especially with Dumba and Suter, they've kind of had a lot of puck turning over issues. And a lot of times when those pucks have been turned over, it's led to either break, like 2-on-1 odd man rushes going at either Talbot or Kakinen, or it's literally led into the goals being buried in the back of the net. And, well, let's put it this way. There's a reason why Dumba's nicknamed Dumbo. But, and to be fair, I've yelled that a couple times at the screen too. I'm not going to lie there, but whatever. So, but yeah, we go back to Vegas going into Game 5, which, all things considered, it's going to be a tough matchup. Regardless of what happens, it's just going to be tough, and I could very easily see this being the last game. And in a lot of ways, kind of would be nice, but at the same time, we could very easily kick it into gear and, well, potentially make the series yet again. But again, who knows? I'm not, counting my chickens before they hatch. I'm not saying one way or the other. I've just seen enough sports and seen enough of these teams to know kind of when it's about over with. And unfortunately, I think the Wild just gave all they could give at this point, and it's just finally fizzled them out. It's very similar to how the Vikings kind of are, like, at the end of a tough season when they've just tried and tried and tried, and eventually they literally just wear themselves out. I mean, they just give so much so early. And that's kind of what hurts that's what's been one of the biggest Achilles heels and downfalls of the Wild this year, is giving too much up early in the game and not stretching it out for a whole 60 minutes. That's going to be a big key moving forward, is how can we manage this team's adrenaline and their push and fight for a whole 60 plus minutes. Because it's like they're very much all or nothing. But again, I'm not saying the series is over, but as a Wild fan, I can kind of see the writing on the walls. Again, very similar to the other sports teams I root for, but again, moving forward, this team has a lot of promise, including a few big-name prospects moving up, including Boldy and those guys that are... We have a future ahead of us that'll be very interesting to see coming into the 21-22 season. So, and who knows, we very easily could still pull this series out and move on. But like I say, we'll just take this one game at a time, and who knows? Be interesting to see what this team looks like, even going into next season, because again, with Seattle coming in, who do we save? Who do we protect? Who do we leave out for potential exposure? Who do we trade? Who comes in for free agency? Who do we draft? It's going to be very interesting to see. So, but yeah, stay tuned for my recap going into tomorrow night. And until we meet again, this is Jacob, and have a good night.